Welcome to Lajoyefullife, the podcast for finding true happiness in every aspect of your life through spiritual, physical, emotional, and mental health. I'm your host, Anthony Lajoy, and thanks for joining us for another episode of exploration into personal success. All right, everybody, we are live. This week we have Jake Hoffman. Jake, welcome to the Joyful Life podcast, brother.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm super excited to have you here. For those of you who may not know Jake, he is owner and, co-owner.
Yeah, co-founder, CEO.
Awesome, of Invasion Digital Media. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do? Let's get it started off right there.
Yeah, so Invasion Digital Media is something that came out of us working on and running a lot of large YouTube channels and Instagrams and social media channels where we were selling digital products. And so that experience allowed us to kind of go, well, wait a second, why don't we help other influencers, other creators, other artists, give them a chance to also create a product on the back end? Because, you know, if they're just doing podcasts, if they're just doing YouTube, if they're just doing Instagram, they're not necessarily making a lot of money off of that. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we help them kind of create and monetize that following that they have through products that are actually going to help their following as well. So we serve a lot in the fitness industry, doing a lot of diet programs, fitness programs, workout programs, things like that. And the people that we were working with at the time, their following really enjoys that because they want to be able to look the same and learn all the same things that's coming from them as well, and they can figure out what they're doing to get those results.
Right. Now, what exactly kind of got you into that? Because that's not really something that someone just wakes up one morning, says, "Hey, I'm going to start this digital media company."
Yeah. And
I'm just going to make it happen. I don't know anybody. I've got a college degree, right? So you went to college. Talk to us a little bit about your degree, people you knew, people influenced you, kind of how you got to where you are now. Because I think that's something interesting for folks just starting out.
Yeah. So I think that entrepreneurship is kind of in my blood. It's in it starts with my grandfather really, who he owned bagel shops back in the probably 50s, 60s.
Where was that?
He was in New York, so their bagel shop, they had one in Brooklyn. And
that's so classic.
Yeah, oh yeah, he's the most typical Jewish grandfather who's possibly, he had a bagel shop out in Brooklyn. And, he was a big influence, obviously, on my father and my two uncles. And, I have two uncles that are both dentists, so they're kind of in their own practice. My father and my godfather, who's his cousin, they started a magazine, New Homes Guide, which was down in South Florida in the late 80s, early 90s. And so he started a company, my grandfather started a company, and so you just kind of see that growing up, and you kind of know the entire time, well, I need to start my own company at some point too. And so the entrepreneurship's always been there, the independence has always been there, and then it's just about kind of then gearing yourself towards how to do it, and what kind of industry you're going to go into, what are you going to do. I wasn't one of those take over daddy's kind of business kind of kids, but I had I had the mindset at least to go out and do it myself.
So you're kind of going from there into now grown up Jake.
Yeah.
Because you obviously have that kind of mindset, that influence, in your life growing up. But what kind of influenced your decision when you went to college and you said, all right, this is what I'm going to do? First of all, did you know what you were going to do when you go to college? I think that's something that everyone now, or kids now, when they're going to college, they might not necessarily know, right?
So, yeah, absolutely not. I was every typical 18-year-old going to college, right? I was there to just go because that's kind of what I was told to do, and what most of my other friends did. They went to college, right? And so I went in. I was actually going for pre-med as I wanted to be an optometrist when I was 18 years old. That just kind of died about 6 months in when I started playing around a little bit too much in college and realizing that maybe, med school might be a little bit much. I don't know if that's quite I'm not that structured, right?
Right.
I need to go out and I don't do well in the traditional academic formats, but that starts out that way. And then I kind of, I have a passion for politics, and I started taking up political science and communication, which was another. I have 2 degrees, one in political science, one in communications, and both of those things they're the kind of degrees that people say, oh, you don't need those degrees. They're not going to get you a job. That's not going to get you hired anywhere. That kind of thing. But what those degrees do is it gives you a tangible and really great set of skills that help you start to build upon other things that you want to do in your life. So if you wanted to go into media, obviously, if you wanted to do a podcast or things like that, like those kind of things are you can learn a lot. There's a lot of people out there right now that are kind of on this whole kick on you don't need college, or college is useless and it's a waste of a degree and things like that. But for a lot of people like me who I was fortunate enough. And I guess, I did work a little bit hard in high school to get, scholarships and things like that, where I wasn't taking out loans and getting screwed over by that whole system that's going on right now, that people keep, they go out on podcasts, talk, don't go to college, don't do this kind of stuff. But,
you hear it all over, man.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that say that kind of thing, but really, I mean, their college is an experience, and I knew that from going in at 18. And then it's the same thing why I went back to grad school too. Like I knew that I wanted to the experiences that you can have in college, and there are some lessons that you can take from it, and diversity, which is a huge thing too as well, and learning new ideas, meeting new people that you wouldn't necessarily associate yourself with when you're in that kind of environment, versus if you just don't experience that, you kind of tend to stay in a bubble and move from one bubble growing up to the next bubble as a young adult, and the next bubble and like that. And so that's what college is really meant for. And so I'm not really anti-college. I'm not really pro-college either when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. But I'm supportive of people that decide to still go and make it out if it makes financial sense for them and it makes sense in what they want to do for their degree, because it does help. And I also have a master's in entrepreneurship as well. And that's from USF, and that was something that you absolutely do not need to go into the field of entrepreneurship. A lot of people will probably still argue with me that it's kind of a waste of my time and a waste of money. Before, I should have spent that time working on my company, but again, I wanted to have 2 more years of experience in college. I wasn't necessarily thinking about the bottom line of how quickly I can get into my company.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for that, right? So when dude, this thing is right up in my face. Excuse me, guys. I'm just going to go ahead and adjust my pop filter here. It's totally unprofessional of me, but hey.
No, it's okay. It's the first one.
Yeah, we're going to try to do what we can here. Hopefully the sound is okay. Apologize for all of that. It's a little bit better there. Hey, this is live performance right here.
Yeah,
I love it.
What happens.
Yes, I love it, dude. This is me. So we should say real quick, USF that he was talking about, the college that he went to for entrepreneurial studies, stands for University of South Florida. So
yeah, a lot of people don't know where we're at.
Yeah, it's here in Tampa Bay area in Florida. They also have a location in St. Pete, but they're totally throwing a plug there for USF. So you're welcome. No, I wanted to say, so I think everyone talks about, well, not everyone, but many entrepreneurs talk about, not needing a degree, right, to be successful. And that's totally true. I agree 100%. Not everybody needs it. It's not for everybody. But I think in order to be successful, you need to be a very special animal, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to be a very driven person to be an entrepreneur. You need to, have a very set goal in your mind of where you want to be. I'll be honest with you, for me, that wasn't the case. I needed someone that needed, or something rather that was a 9 to 5, get up, go to work. That's very much how my family is. That's how I was raised. That's who I am. You clearly have more of an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, there's this part of you, I guess, that is kind of always like a natural rule breaker. Is what we say. Like, I wouldn't do well in the military. I wouldn't do well in a 9 to 5 structure, and I have a lot of respect for the people that do those things. But entrepreneurs are very naturally rule breakers, and we don't like that kind of structure. We like to pave our own path and kind of do it that way, and that's you need to have that, and you can't necessarily teach that. You can teach a lot of intangibles so that people can be involved in a startup community. You can be, the accountant at a startup. You can be a vice president at a startup. You can be all kinds of different positions in the startup community and still be involved in the entrepreneurial community. But, not everybody has the CEO mentality and the drive to wake up every day and force yourself to put yourself through all of the difficulties and stress, and it's not nearly as sexy as it's made out to be on a lot of the podcasts and Instagram and things like that it is nowadays. I mean, it's not all Lambos and pools and girls and stuff like that from day one. I mean, it's just not, and it can be that, but it's a lot of years before you get to that point, and there's a lot of people that are obviously faking it from day one. Right.
I mean, I think that's super cool that you said that as an entrepreneur. You've had times you struggle, right? And you hear of all the people who do really, really well with entrepreneurs, and I'm not trying to bash that at all, okay? Like, I love entrepreneurial spirits. I mean, I'm good friends with Jake. I think entrepreneurial is amazing, and we have so many products now because of entrepreneurs, just like yourself. But I just want to make sure that for anyone listening who may still be in high school, if that's you, go for it. I'm a big fan of that, but just be informed. Know that it's going to be a struggle. It's not going to be easy right off the bat. So you're going to have to work for it. But work is one of the best things for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you're somebody that's in high school, one of the things that I really do, if I talk to somebody that's in high school or younger, middle school and elementary school, I still would encourage all people to go into business for themselves. I would encourage people to start small businesses and go that route, but you just have to be prepared to know what is involved with that and put yourself in a position that you can take those kind of risks, because it's a lot harder. There's people out there that say, you can do it at 50, you can do it at 60, and it's absolutely true, but there is so much harder. So if you start your life out and you're in high school and you realize, okay, I have all these goals and all these different things I want to do, well, there's a lot of things that we don't talk about, if you get married, if you have kids too young and things like that, it makes it that much harder for you to take risks monetarily, lifestyle wise, and again, it's not like it's impossible. You can definitely do it if you're married with 2 kids at 21, but at the end of the day, your early 20s, your late 20s is going to be the time where if you can get into it at that time, then you're going to be that much farther ahead instead of somebody that's starting out at 40, 50, 60.
Yeah, totally agree. Kind of on that note, one of my favorite quotes is, the best time to start your own business is 5 years ago.
Sure.
The second best time is right now.
Yeah.
And as a side note, I've never spoken to a business owner who didn't say that they loved working for themselves.
Yeah, and
it's a no-brainer for them.
And people will ask me, what is it that you like the most about your company? And it's always the freedom. That's always the answer. It's always the fact that I can wake up and decide whether or not I want to work that day, or what needs to be done that day, or how my time is being split up, and what I wear, where I'm going, who I'm meeting, all those kind of different things. It's on you. But what I will say though to one of your points is that this is my third business at this point. I'm 27 now, and there was another business that I had started when I was in college called Rate My College Housing, which was a cross between Rate My Professor and Rent.com, Apartments.com, where kids were able to rate their college housing, which still is actually a pretty good idea if somebody goes out and does it right.
Yeah.
But it was something that I worked on for a couple of years and didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. I was able to exit it and then move on to something else. But then I had another company that was very, very short-lived and just kind of an idea, did not work out at all.
What was the name of that one?
That one was actually, it didn't really quite have a name. It was just starting. Again, you just start getting into these things where you're like, it's a business, it's kind of a business, and then you're like, this totally failed before it even gets off the ground. And so that stuff does exist out there. And then Invasion Digital Media, which we have now, has been around for about 2 years or so. most people have no idea what it is. People know about the brands that we work with. People know about the people that we work with, the YouTubers. They would know them by name. Yeah. But, there is teams of people out there that are actually very good at what they do. And they're behind a lot of the faces that you see on YouTube, but they're behind a lot of the faces you see on Instagram that are helping them manage what they're doing and putting out the products. A lot of those people have a team and not just a single person.
Yeah, I think that's very important. When you follow people on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or anywhere, you think they're putting on their own show. Yeah. But they're really not. If you could flip the camera around and look at the team of people they have behind them, there's probably typically at least 5 people or more. But you made a point in there about some of the folks that you work with. Some of your clients are people that may, others out there may know of. Are you able to talk about that? Like who those people are, how you got in with them? Is that something we can talk about? Or?
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about that. So one of the people that we started with that really I would credit with helping us get into this space as a whole is Elliot Hulse, who works with Strength Camp. They're down in St. Pete, and then the guys over there at Overtime Athletes that also came out of the same gym, and Chris Barnard and what they're doing over there. And these guys have been on YouTube for a long time. They've been on YouTube it's pretty much since people started doing fitness on YouTube. And me and my partner Chris Susumi, who he'd love to be on the podcast too.
Absolutely.
They have been working together for a long time, and the lessons that we took from what we were doing with them, and we were able to apply it to other people, and now it's kind of expanded to NFL teams and NFL players, and it's expanded to, I have people in the cryptocurrency space, I have people in the fishing space, I have people in the health and wellness space, but it kind of all came from a place of fitness programs is what it really started with. And every individual client's got its own story, but it's I think it's more about the business and the concept that we're kind of driving after right now.
Yeah. Now you had mentioned that your business partner he's kind of the one that is more focused on the physical aspect and the diet and that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. So he's I'm the, somebody said before I'm the MBA behind all of it. I handle a lot of the day-to-day stuff, but Chris is a lot more of the creative side of it, where he's actually doing video editing and photo editing, and he is fantastic at Photoshop and those kind of things. And so he does a lot of that, and then we have a team underneath us as well that we've kind of been training up, coming from a lot of the Florida schools here, and we've been getting them into place with what they need to do, because as much as I talked about how college is fun and a great experience and everything, I have yet to meet an intern for any of the businesses that I've run that is prepared for what we would need them to do. So there's no prep for what you actually want to do in the real world with business and everything once you get out.
That's true, man. I mean, that's when you get a degree, it doesn't matter necessarily what your degree is in. I mean, look at me. I've got a music degree. I was a music theater kid.
Yeah.
And
you're still talking to a microphone, so.
Yeah, yeah, right. So I'm still behind the microphone. I always did think radio would be interesting. So, hey, here I am. I'm your radio DJ. Is that a good radio voice? That's terrible.
I don't know. You have to probably deepen it up, listen to it a few times. They're probably the kind of people that practice in a mirror, practice on a mic.
Well, plus I'm not that good at answering phones and giving giveaways on the radio. So, so we talked a little bit about being motivated yourself as an entrepreneur to pursue your passions. But let's talk a little bit about where that motivation comes from. So, a couple questions that I like to ask entrepreneurs that I know of. This is a great icebreaker too. Think of this, guys. 2 questions you want to ask entrepreneurs. Number 1, what motivates you? And number 2, what was the first $20 that you ever made? If you can remember that. So let's start with what motivates you. Let's go there.
So this is actually a question that I probably don't answer that often, and I probably don't answer that often because I think the answer doesn't sound so great from far away, right? So what really motivates me, as much as I've talked about how the things that are really motivating, right? The things I say that are best about running your own business, that is the freedom and the time frame that you have to work with, and not having to answer to people and all those kind of things. So what actually motivates me every day is when I see other people who are in jobs that they don't like. When I hear about people who are not happy with what they're doing, who are, those kind of people, they're the ones that I feel bad by saying that, like, they're who motivates me. But when I hear from people who are doing the things that everybody told me I should do my whole life, because everybody tells you along the way, like including my mother and things like that, hey, you should.
Hi, Mom.
Yeah,
Hi, Mom. We love you.
Yeah, you should go be a lawyer. You should go do this. You should. Why don't you go do this school and become that and everything? Those are the things that you hear throughout your life. It's like, I came from a very privileged place of where people were constantly encouraging me to go to school and to do different things, and I think a lot of people probably come from that background as well. But you hear all the time, like becoming an entrepreneur was actually difficult for me in the sense that I have to not go take other jobs. I have to not go try and do this thing. Like, I could go settle for this job here or this job over there, but that's not what's going to make me happy in the long run. And so when I talk to people who I feel like settled, or I feel like are not happy in what they're doing, but they're doing it because it's safe and it's just getting them by for right now, that motivates me every day to say, you know what, like, things may not be working out right now, especially in the beginning when it's like things aren't going well right now. I mean, you're always going to have roadblocks, and you're not making as much money as you expect. You're not just like turning on, turning the keys and everything just works out like, happy flowers and unicorns and
yeah.
It's motivating for me to make it past all of those different things is when I hear people, the other options that I have are not quite as they're not going to make. I know that they won't make me as happy.
Yeah, that's a good point. Sometimes you need to kind of remember where you came from. Right, and know what you could be doing. And on those days that you don't want to get up and go do something, you think of those that have to get up and go to work, fight traffic or wherever they live.
Yeah.
Whereas you can get up and work from home, essentially, right?
Yeah, what's also different about Invasion Digital Media was that we took a lot from Tim Ferriss and the 4-Hour Work Week. When he put that book out and basically gave the blueprint to, hey, you don't need to have an office anymore. Hey, you don't need to have physical overhead anymore. You don't need to do that kind of stuff anymore. We took that and ran with it. That was a huge motivation. I suggest everybody reads the 4-Hour Work Week. I mean, like, I'm not even associated with that. I'm not an affiliate, but
great book.
He really did motivate and give the path as to that this is possible now. I mean, it's 2018. At this time, it was a little bit before then, but you don't have to do anything anymore. That traditional route. We've done everything specifically to be crafted so that this was a business that allows us to be wherever. I can work from certain places and I cannot work from certain places. I don't have to be in a physical location every day, and the business is still capable of running.
Yeah. Now, how, kind of speaking from that point, getting back to the point of really, I guess, of this podcast, which is, spiritual, physical, emotional, mental health. How do you feel like working from home, having that, I guess, probably more mental clarity, right? By not having to, feel like you're under a boss or kind of your own boss. You can make your own decisions in a way, I assume. How do you feel that following this entrepreneurial route has really helped you, achieve a higher level of, mental capability, or, keep your emotional stress levels low, or, along the lines of these support core areas, really?
Yeah, so you have to end up being mentally strong to make it as an entrepreneur. And there's been a lot of literature written recently about entrepreneurs and depression, because it's a really real problem, actually. Again, entrepreneur culture became cool all of a sudden a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And startup culture became really cool. But realistically, there's a lot of people who don't make it. Businesses fail, and it's stressful. And again, if you have all these other factors in your life that are putting other stress from other places around your business, then you're going to struggle with depression. You're going to struggle with mental health. You're going to struggle with those kind of things. And becoming an entrepreneur is not, again, it's not all flowers and roses. It's, you have to be able to figure out how to deal with it. And I personally look at mental health and that kind of thing as kind of very similar to a lot of the other things that I do in life, where I recognize that there's a problem and I try and find a solution, right? So it's, and again, we're really involved with health and wellness with a lot of the clients that we work with. So, you know, we're always talking about affirmations and rituals and going out and getting physical exercise is huge, and getting that done and making sure that you're doing all of the things to keep the mental side of your, you know, your own life in a good place. And there's a ton of things that I probably do subconsciously at this point, just because it's a lifestyle, it's a maintained set of daily rituals and then overall just philosophy that goes behind it to keep everything in check.
Yeah. Is there any one thing really that you could point out for the listeners that has really kind of helped you, whether it's the very first thing that you did, that, you kind of were struggling with, staying mentally strong and pushing that next level, and maybe one thing that you found that really kind of pulled you out of that, whether that be going to the gym or, sitting down and reading a funny book or, whatever that might be, kind of, I guess, outside of just looking up something on social media and laughing at a meme. Because I, at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of folks do that. And that's really kind of what I'm trying to get away from here, is that we're all glued to like social media as a way to our outlet.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's so much more to life, and there's a way, to create friendships and create, these relationships with those around us, even if it's someone you don't know.
Yeah. And
that can be helpful.
What's funny about our business is that I don't really like social media all that much, but I have to be on social media all the time and up to the most, like, the trendiest things that go on the internet in order to keep up with and sell the products that we're selling. But it's something I wish I could probably do a little bit less of. And for me, though, when it comes to mental health, I can think of a few breakthroughs in my life. And when I was in college at some point, I was having issues with my relationship, and I was having issues with just the stress of college. And there's a huge, it's not very talked about, but that transition for kids from college to the real world is very difficult for a lot of people, because nobody knows where they're going, right? And that speaks to the part of people not being prepared when they come out. Mm-hmm. And again, I as much as I went to college because I wanted to enjoy the experience, it didn't prepare me for the year afterwards. And so that in between time, I seeking out mental professional help. I mean, going to therapy, guys don't talk about this kind of stuff, especially. No. Going to a therapist is just once a week. All of a sudden, you're kind of like, oh wow, I never thought about that. And there's just I can't speak highly enough about a good psychiatrist and psychologist that can help people with what they're going through, and kind of, people have been pushing towards removing that stigma. But, a lot of schools have resources, a lot of communities have resources for people to use. And, I don't have any problem telling people, I went to therapy for probably close to a year. That really helped me kind of at 18, 19 years old, or a little bit older than that, trying to, that helped me a lot. And it really changed my mindset to a lot of things for my mental health. And then one thing I would like to talk about a little bit with something people can do that I've found really useful in not just mental health, but also professional health and everything is just really the importance of setting goals. And if people set goals, I've got a sheet, and every 6 months I just go in and I write down all the goals that I have that I want to see accomplished in the next 6 months to a year range. And all I do is just go in, think about the things I want to do. It's usually something physical, workout goals, competitive. We play football together, so it might be something like join this and get out this often. I have mental and physical things like I have right now, like get out in nature once a week is something really big for me. And then I have business goals and relationship goals and things like that. And I just write all those things down, and I don't ever look at that sheet. I just go back to it in 6 months, usually on New Year's and then somewhere in the middle of the year, and I look at what's been accomplished. And almost 80-90% of all the things, without me ever looking at them, without me ever sitting there every single day and saying like, okay, and what am I doing to work towards that? It just happens. It really does just happen. Like it's not this crazy secret. It's not this crazy thing. It's like, if you mentally prepare yourself that like this is where I want to go and this is what I want to do, and you write that down and you go back to it, like it's probably going to get done. And because your subconscious will eventually take over the fact of like this is what you ultimately want, right? Like these are your goals, and you will eventually work towards that. And then when you go back in 6 months and you didn't do that thing, and especially if it's reasonable and you're like, man, why didn't I do that one thing? It's like by the next 6 months it's done. And I've been doing that for years now, and it's always ended with me meeting those next goals.
That's awesome. I do something similar.
Yeah.
And I make the list, but I review them weekly because I heard that when you go over your goals regularly and you read it and then it's in your mind, that subconsciously, that's how your subconscious tells you how hard to work to get to your goal. But I've also done, and this is cool, I think it's kind of a cool little bit of like artwork as well, if we want to call it that. All the ladies out there would probably say, oh, that's such guy artwork or something like that. But basically I have a vision board. So y'all have probably heard of it, at least some of you have. Basically what you do, you take a board. I went and got like a cork board. You get it for like $20 or something at the store. But then you cut out pictures of all your goals. So what car you want, what house you want, if you want a family, if you want, to get really good at, I don't know, football, whatever you want to do. You cut out pictures that represent what your goals are. And then you hang that on your wall. You can put it in your room, you can put it in your living room, wherever you want to be. But basically you then see it every day. The idea is to put it somewhere that you'll see it every day.
Yeah, and funny
it kind of helps accomplish.
I set a screensaver on the back of my laptop of a house on the water that I really like. And it's one of those things where it's not really even a goal of mine. It's just kind of like something I stuck over there, and then you'll have to check with me in 10 or 15 years and see if I'm in a similar house by the water like that.
Taking those 10 to 15.
Yeah, but you'll have to check with me. But I do some of the subconscious stuff as well. I mean, I do believe that you're not just going. You still have to get up and work every day. You still have to get up and do something. It's not just going to happen by magic. But if you're doing all those things and you're setting all those goals, you're going to be on the right path. Eventually, it's going to work out for you.
Yeah. And that's the important thing. At the end of the day, hard work beats talent 100% of the time. You work hard, you'll accomplish. So I believe it totally.
The absolute majority of my life is just because I've showed up to things. Like, I mean, I can attribute so much success to just showing up to things and being involved and getting involved. And in 2018, where people, and I run a digital media company, like I do things online. I'm out almost every night or every other night at some sort of event doing something. I'm involved in the community. I'm involved with different groups. I'm involved with this. And just going to those things, you're going to see more success because most people are too lazy to get out and even go to it. Or they're too scared to go out and talk to people. And then, again, it comes back to like, if you're not good at talking to people, if you're not good at shaking hands and those intangible things that we all take for granted, then those are the kind of things that you should be trying to get better at, because eventually those are going to translate to, even if you're doing a digital product or something like that, like that stuff does translate and eventually get back to there, because everybody needs to get good at personal communication, interpersonal communication, and talking to other people and being able to build those kind of relationships.
Yeah, dude, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Amen. Dude, you never answered the question, what was the first $20 you ever made? I'm going to hold him to it till he answers it.
So I think probably the first $20 I ever made was probably, my father paid us for grades, which was a really good idea. And a lot of people have actually come out, there's studies, I'm doing really bad at being able to quote like where these studies come from, but I swear if you
I'm the same way, man.
I swear if you Google this stuff, you'll find it and it'll be legitimate. I'm not just quoting some BS science or anything. But
at least we're not claiming it as our own. So if anyone is like, hey, Joe Schmo said that in the year 1942, then hey, we give them credit. We're not trying to take anyone's word, but it's brilliant stuff that stuck with us. So
yeah,
it's a good thing, Joe Schmo, wherever you are.
Yeah, and so the first $20 probably came from like a report card. And, but what I was going to say though is that there is a lot of evidence that, giving your kids, if you got kids, then giving them a monetary incentive, like how the real world works, that if they do well in something, then they're going to succeed in school as well.
Yeah, I like it. That's actually a pretty good idea. I was not paid for report cards. I just felt utter shame whenever I got a bad grade. And then I felt good about myself when I got a good grade. So, I think my first $20 was like baling hay for the neighbor or something. So we were raising the farms in the country.
Where there's hay and farms.
Dude, that is some of the best memories I ever have, is growing up in the country, helping the farmers bale hay, round up the cattle, and, at roundup time. Although it's not as cool as what it sounds. We were walking around in the mud. We weren't riding the horses, so it's silly. I was like probably 13, 14, maybe, but I was pretty little, and these cows are just massive, and they stare at you, and you feel like they're just going to charge you. I remember being distinctly scared about that, but we digress.
I'm from South Florida, man. I grew up on a beach. There was no farms, really.
So you rounded up gators.
Yeah, we definitely have some gators and an overpopulation of people, snakes and things like that. But we got some crazy stuff going on in South Florida, that's for sure. I mean, it's been like that since I was a kid, but it's as bad as it can be right now.
And then I feel like every bad, let me take that back. Not every bad thing, but most of the times, if it's a bad headline that starts Florida man. Am I right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's a lot. Florida man's really famous right now. I mean, if you're from Florida and you end up going anywhere in the rest of the country, and you're a man, and they're like, oh, Florida man. Like, I mean, like you're gonna get it because we've got a lot of craziness down here, and we gotta. I love this state though. Something I will say is that I have traveled to a lot of this country and outside of this country in my life, and I don't see any reason to leave Florida. Like, there's not a lot of other states that really are that appealing to me. I mean, we have everything, and even with the craziness, I love it here.
Yeah, man. You got the beaches and the tourism, and it's a good spot. I mean, there's reason that everyone comes here for vacation, right? They want to be able to enjoy what they think is the perfect life.
Yeah.
Right? And hang out at the beaches and the resorts and that, but when it comes down to reality, life is what you make it. If you choose to not let anything get you down and be happy, be joyful.
You have to get one of those, sound bites in there.
Yeah, I think what I need is someone just to follow me around with a drum and cymbal. Everywhere, dude. I drop some doozies anytime
You're not lying there.
Anytime I'm like in the mall, I'm walking around, I'm at work. I don't remember half the stuff I say, but I think they're pretty funny. So,
it definitely is some that get a cymbal.
Yeah, definitely some get a cymbal, but then some just get a drum too.
Yeah,
but it wasn't that funny. You know what I mean? One of my favorite quotes from Finding Nemo, and I've remembered the quote, who made it this time. for a clownfish, he's really not that funny. There it is. But so I got a question for you. What would your 10-year-old self say about what Jake Hoffman does now?
So I've actually thought about this before because I've started. Our business has led us to so many different people, and we've gotten more and more involved with like the WWE and some of the wrestling people, that wrestlers or retired wrestlers that are hanging out here in Tampa. And when I see that, and then when I see myself kind of doing some more work with some of these NFL players and things like that, I'm like, my 10-year-old self will give me a freaking high five. I'm like, I was like, really? Like, what? Like, you're still doing stuff like hanging out with WWE and the NFL? Like, oh, you didn't quite make it there, man. Like, you didn't get quite that size, but, to just be hanging out with these guys and doing those kind of things, I think that 10-year-old self would be pretty happy right now. Yeah. But that's part of being an entrepreneur and doing those things, and you're gonna gravitate towards the things that you really actually care about. And back to the same thing, like what motivates you. Like, if I was in a job where, my 10-year-old self would slap me and say, like, dude, get back on the playground, like, go have some fun, then that's something I should probably be rethinking what I'm doing and get myself into something that where my 10-year-old self would be pretty proud.
So really, dude, what I agree with you. What I hear from you really though is that you've kind of found a way to live a life that you're happy with, a life that you are dedicated to, you're driven by, and you really don't have any regrets at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I really don't have any regrets at any major large decision in my life.
Yeah, I mean, we all make mistakes. You're like, oh man, I shouldn't have eaten that burger last night. I feel fat today, right? Like that's a
I probably could have
that's a mistake,
it,
right?
Yeah, but.
It's whatever. That actually leads me to another question that just came into my head, which is, you say you don't have any regrets. What's like one thing that you could have done better? Something that you maybe didn't give your all, a mistake that you learned from, and just something that on the next time around you'll nail it because you learned from it.
Yeah, I think that if I look back at my high school self, or even before then, I had a hard time committing to things and giving my full-fledged effort into actually succeeding in something. So like I played a lot of sports when I was a kid, and I did a lot of different things like that, but I never really dedicated myself to any of those sports because I had other things going on, and I didn't really care that much about them, or I didn't let myself care that much about them because the failures aspect is there as well. So it was also similar with my businesses. I had one foot in and one foot out at some points in my first businesses, but you do need to jump 2 feet in to a lot of things and fully commit to getting something done if you want to see success in it in the future. It's very difficult to only put your toe into something and expect there to be a good result from that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't climb to the next rung of the ladder if you don't let go of the rung that you're on. I think that's a really good point. That's probably another quote that I don't know who made it, but hey, it was a really good quote. I love it. So I want to kind of wrap it up here, but in a couple closing questions. What's your definition of success?
So I define success as really being happy with what you've accomplished, and it can take all kinds of different forms. Like everybody's success is different, right? So for me, my success comes from building and people hate this phrase when I say it, but the work-life balance is me being able to get work done, do what I need to do on that side of things, also keep that interesting enough for me to want to even do it, and then have the free time and have the family life, and then play with my dog and get the physical activity that I want to get done.
Yeah.
And all of those different things where all of a sudden that all of the different rungs of my life all kind of come together, and things are going well, right? Like, every single piece of it, like, can things be better? Like, of course, everything can always be better, right? But you can't necessarily always look at it that way. Success to me is not hitting a monetary milestone, right? Like, I don't have, mine isn't $1 million goal or like a $10 million goal, or I want to make $1 billion and I want to do this kind of stuff. Like, the money to me means nothing. It really does. Because I think that you can do a lot of the things that you want to do without having the money to do it. People think that you need millions of dollars or billions of dollars to do things, but it's just about being successful in shaping your life to do all the things that you want to do, and then that, in a sense, is success.
So, everybody, I think that was perfectly put. Also, I don't know why people get upset when you say work-life balance. I think that's totally a legit thing. But amen to everything you just said, Jake. I mean, what I'm finding through everyone I talk, and really the reason that I began this brand, the reason that I wanted to start this podcast, is that whatever you do, if you choose to live a happy, fulfilling life, if you want to do the best you can do, you can dig ditches and be happy with it. The money is not what it's about. It's not about the fame. It's not about the glory. It's the relationship you have with your God, with your family, your friends, how you treat your body. To be kind to your body, get your rest, go to the gym. And physical health isn't just, how you look. It's also, make sure you're taking your vitamins, make sure you're getting your sleep, that's all important stuff. So when it comes down to it, you focus on these 4 things. And so what if you're not successful by what the world says that you need to be successful at? You need to be, married with a 4-bedroom house by age 35, and you need to have 2 kids at least, and the house needs to have a picket fence or anything in the front yard. That's not a thing. If you're happy living in an apartment and you love that apartment and you're like, dude, I hate doing yard work, then hey, sounds like an apartment's a great fit for you. You know what I mean? So do what makes you happy. You need to live that lifestyle, and more than anything, I feel like you just need to focus on bringing joy into others' lives. That's what I've done, and my life is just turned around because of it. When you focus on bringing that joy, bringing that high energy, it's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain until you do it. So just do it. Point yourself in that direction and really make a change in other folks' lives. You pay for someone to order behind you in the drive-thru, and you'll be like, dude, I'm like the best guy on the planet today.
Yeah.
I just paid for this guy behind me. And it's awesome. It's a great feeling, man.
Yeah, I can't hit myself on the back too often, or else my head might inflate a little bit too much. You need to have, one of the other things of entrepreneurship is you need to have a little bit of an ego going for yourself, that you think you can do that kind of thing. So you have to tame that a little bit.
No, dude, I think you're a modest guy, honestly. You don't really brag on yourself a whole lot. So everybody, Jake Hoffman is an amazing guy. He's a great guy.
Yep, if you want to check out what we're up to, it's invasiondigitalmedia.com. We're going to be redoing the website with a lot of the different products and projects that we've been working on for the past year. If you want to catch up with me and see what I do, it's all on Instagram now. I go around touring the country telling people that Instagram is the only thing that matters anymore. So my Instagram handle is Jake, Jake Hoffman, Hoffman 561. And you'll be able to find me there, and then that's probably the most up-to-date thing that whatever I'm up to.
Dude, that sounds like a 2-way radio call-in. Jake Hoffman, 556-111. Sorry, what was that number again? Yeah. Jake Hoffman.
It's 561. Unfortunately, Jake Hoffman's a pretty generic name. I think Dustin Hoffman has a kid, and he takes up a lot of my SEO, so unfortunately...
nerve.
Yeah, so I have to add some numbers to it, or else no one's going to find me.
Yeah, I like it. So remember those numbers, guys. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to leave it there. Jake, thanks for coming on. We're definitely going to do this again, so stay tuned. I'll put his contact information there, his follows, his Jake Hoffman 561 username in the show notes, so be sure to go check that out. If you like what you heard, DM me. I want to give you more of it, but if you want, have any suggestions for people you want me to have on, go ahead and DM me on those. I'd love to bring them on for you. But yeah, until next time, folks, stay happy, stay humble, and continue to be Lajoyefullife. Thanks for coming on, Jake.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. I feel so special that I'm one of the first people that we thought about to have on this.
What can I say? You're a good dude.
That's right.
Clutch, bro.
Clutch.